Basically, Just Transition is really, the alliance was a formation of multiple base building alliances, indigenous peoples, frontline communities, environmental justice communities, labor unions coming together to seek common solutions, as you are all seeking. There are some core values, and there's more about the principles that we could share later in informal conversation, but there's some core values guiding our work, which you have all expressed in the last 2 days of this historic assembly. One I hear a lot is nothing about us without us. Just Transition is rooted in self-determination of all of our communities working together, but local self-determination, bottom up. So the workers and communities on the front lines of harm are the ones who are making the decisions. The second value we really uphold is seeking the knowledge, but also seeking to address those most harmed amongst us, those who are most suffering from poverty, from war, from genocide. And in this moment, I think it all behooves us all to recognize our comrades, our sisters and brothers in the lands of Palestine who are facing genocide at the hands of imperialism. So we all stand, and at any time in the moment, with those who are being harmed most. That's a core value. Thirdly, our core value is we take the leadership of those who are not only most historically harmed, those indigenous and land-based communities, the poor, like my mother would say, the people who grow our food, the people who clean our streets, the people who raise our children and build our houses, and those who amongst you are standing up, and bearing the burden of the leadership of people who are leading us to a new way beyond this capitalist crisis. And finally, I just wanted to say that Just Transition is about people solutions, not corporate solutions or capitalist solutions, or the solutions that the policy solutions that they make at the UN or by government or industry, or things like extended producer responsibility. They're the solutions of the people. So really it is about how all of our mass bases define justice. And that is what we will explore today through the voices of these leaders here. So with that, I would thank you all for joining us. And we'll start with a film from Pinakini Ben's organization, SEVA, one of the oldest base building formations to really organize on this issue. Bill? Oh, yeah, no.
બહેનોને રહેવાના ઠેકાણા નહીં, ખોરાકના ઠેકાણા નહીં, કૂતરા ભૂંડિયા કરડી જાય, હાથે પગે કાયમ ચીરા હોય, આટલું બધું વેઠીને પણ બહેનો ઠંડી ગરમી વરસાદમાં પણ આપણે બેફામ ફેંકેલા કચરાના ઢગલે ઢગલામાંથી બહેનો વીણતી હોય. પણ બહેનોની કોઈ સલામતી નહીં, બહેનોને સ્વાસ્થ્યની સલામતી નહીં, રોજગારીની સલામતી નહીં. બહેનોને આટલું કર્યા છતાં પણ એમના કામનું કોઈ માન નથી.
Recording in progress.
બહેનો સંગઠિત ના હોય તો બહેનોની કોઈ સલામતી નથી અને બહેનોની સૌદાશક્તિ પણ ઓછી થાય છે. આજે સંગઠનના બળે જ એક કામદાર બહેન મેનેજર તરીકે કામ કરે છે અને સંગઠનના બળે જ ગીતાંજલિ મંડળી શરૂ કરી છે અને સોનપીટું પણ ખોલ્યું છે.
So I would request that people, before Pinakini Ben speaks, switch to channel 0 for interpretation. Pinakini Ben with Seva.
पिनाकिनी बेन सेवा मधल्या त्या आता बोलतात. मी आता त्यांचं ट्रान्सलेशन करत नाही पण त्या हिंदीत बोलणार
मेरा
आहे,
नाम
तुम्हाला
पिनाकिनी
समजेल.
है। मैं एक वेश विशाखल बहन हूँ और मैं सेवा में 20 साल से सदस्य हूँ। मैं सेवा में एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी में सदस्य हूँ। मैं अपनी बात करूँ, मेरी माँ भी एक वेश रिसाइकल बहन है और सेवा में 30 साल से सभ्य है। वो भी एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी की सदस्य थी। मैं अपनी बात शुरू करूँ इससे पहले मैं सेवा और IAWP का खूब खूब धन्यवाद कहना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि उनकी वजह से मैं आज इंटरनेशनल मंच पर आके आज अपनी रजूआत कर रही हूँ। और हमारे जो सेवा संस्था के जो स्थापक इलाबेन भट्ट है, जो कहीं से भी देख रहे होंगे, वो भी आज बहुत खुश होते होंगे कि आज हमारी ऐसी श्रमजीवी बहन वेश रिसाइकल बहन इस इंटरनेशनल मंच पर आज बोल रही है और अपनी रजूआत कर रही है। मैं सेवा की बात करूँ तो सेवा की स्थापना 1972 में हुई थी और सेवा का पूरा नाम है स्वाश्रय महिला सेवा संघ। सेवा की सभ्य संख्या 30 लाख है और सेवा में हमने कुल वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों का संगठन किया है, जो 37,500 का संगठित किया है। सेवा की बात करूँ तो सेवा 4 कैटेगरी में मुख्य काम करती है, जो है वेचनार, होमबेज वर्कर, जैसे कि होमबेज में अगरबत्ती बनावनार और बीड़ी बनावनार और पतंग बनावनार, गारमेंट, रेडीमेड गारमेंट और श्रम सेवा है और प्रोड्यूसर, ऐसे 4 कैटेगरी में सेवा काम करती है। सेवा के मुख्य 4 स्तंभ है। एक है जो ऑर्गेनाइजिंग और दूसरा सशक्तिकरण, तीसरा सामाजिक सुरक्षा और फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट। ऑर्गेनाइजिंग में मैं बात करूं तो हमारी सामुदायिक संगठन शक्ति बढ़ती है और सशक्तिकरण में हम स्वावलंबन बनते हैं और सामाजिक सुरक्षा में हमारे पेंशन और बीमा की योजना है। फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट में हम हेल्थ केयर, बैंक और उसका सपोर्ट है। मैं आगे बात करूं थोड़ी सी अपनी सी, तो मैं एक खुद वेस्ट रिसाइकल करूँ। अपनी शुरुआत में 4 बजे से दिन की शुरुआत करती हूँ और सुबह 4 बजे मैं थैला लेकर जाती हूँ वेस्ट लेने के लिए। तो सुबह अब 5 से 10 किलोमीटर चल के जाती हूँ और जो अलग-अलग वेस्ट होता है वो लेके आती हूँ और वो वेस्ट लेके चलकर आना और बोरा माथे पे लेके आना जो मेरे घर से और उसका डिस्टेंस 5 से 10 किलोमीटर का होता है, वो मैं सारा वेस्ट लेकर आती हूँ। और कुछ दिन ऐसा नहीं होता कि सारा आता है, कुछ दिन ऐसा होता है नहीं भी मिलता है, तो मुझे फिर से भी दोपहर तड़के में जाना पड़ता है और मैं जो वेस्ट लेकर आती हूँ उसका अलग-अलग तरीके से सेग्रीगेशन करती हूँ और वो सॉर्टिंग करके कबाड़ी वाले के पास देने जाती हूँ और वो जो वेस्ट का जो पैसा आता है उससे मेरे घर की रोजी चलती है और मेरे घर का चूल्हा जलता है। मैं बात करूँ तो वेस्ट रिसाइकल की कोई दृश्यता नहीं है, लेकिन सेवा में आने के बाद वेस्ट रिसाइकल की दृश्यता मिली। सेवा में वेस्ट रिसाइकल की जो हमारी कमेटी होती है, हमारे धंधा की अलग-अलग ट्रेड कमेटी होती है, जो जिनमें बहनें हमारी आगेवान बहनें आती है और हम अपने धंधा के अलग-अलग प्रश्न की रजूआत करती है। ऐसे वेस्ट रिसाइकलर की हमारी कमेटी होती है, उसमें आगेवान हम जाते हैं और अपने जो भी वेस्ट में जो भी प्रश्न आते हैं वो रजूआत कर दे। तो वैसे ही हमने ऐसे रजूआत की थी, उससे हमारा वो सेवा ने और वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों ने मिलके ये सॉल्यूशन निकाला कि ऐसे अब जो दिक्कतें आती जैसे कि कबाड़ी वाले के पास हम वेस्ट देने के लिए जाते हैं तो माल गीला हो तो घट कपा जाती है, सारा वेस्ट हम गीला हो जाए तो वो लेते भी नहीं है और जो बाजार में વધઘટ हो जाता है भाव में, तो हम वेस्ट रिसाइकल सभी पढ़े लिखे नहीं होते हैं, तो वो दाम में भी बढ़ जाता है घट जाता है, तो कबाड़ी वाले हमें नहीं मालूम हो रहा हो, हमें पता भी नहीं चलता है। जो बाजार अचानक से जो वजन होता है तो वजन में भी वो काट लेता है, तो वजन में भी हमें मालूम नहीं होता कि क्या वो काटता है। इसलिए ये सब दिक्कतों हमने सेवा में रजूआत की, तो सेवा ने ये तय किया कि नहीं हम भी ऐसे हमारे वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों की ऐसी क्रैप शॉप बनाए जिसमें वेस्ट रिसाइकल हर खुद ही मैनेजर हो और खुद ही मालिक हो। तो हमने ऐसा पहले से मैम को में जो वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनें हैं वहां से शुरुआत की, वहाँ अपना सेवा का क्रैप शॉप खोला। तो वहाँ बहनें जो मैं भी उसी कम्युनिटी से हूँ अपने वेस्ट जगह की, तो सब वेस्ट जगह विश्वास करने की नहीं अपनी ही बहन है, तो धीमे धीमे 5-6 बहनों से शुरुआत हुई, वो सब देने आने लगे वेस्ट। और हम जो वेस्ट देते थे तो एक बार तो बहनों ने ऐसा भी किया कि हम ये वेस्ट यहाँ वजन करवाते और दूसरे कबाड़ी वाले के पास वजन करवाते, तो उन्होंने देखा कि नहीं सेवा के जो वजन काटा होता है उसमें एग्जैक्ट वजन होता है और दूसरे कबाड़ी वाले में देखा तो वो वजन का कुछ माल गेल करता है, तो सबको ये विश्वास नहीं सेवा में ही हम दे तो हमें कुछ वजन का भी पता चले भाव का भी पता चले, तो इस तरह बहनों ने आना शुरू कर दिया और क्रैप शॉप शुरू हुआ। फिर हमें सेवा ने ऐसा नक्की किया कि जो वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनें होती है जो कबाड़ी वाले के पास आती है तो हमें वेस्ट लेकर जाते तो गाड़ी में 500 रुपया या ऐसा किराया होता है वजन लेके जाए और माथे पे भी ले जाए तो आरोग्य की भी दिक्कतें आती है, तो हम ऐसा करें कि हमने मोबाइल वान कलेक्शन का काम शुरू किया, जो 21 सेंटरों पर अपना सेवा का मोबाइल वाल कनेक्शन अहमदाबाद शहर में हो रहा है, जहाँ बहनें हम खुद ही वेस्ट का काम जहाँ सेग्रीगेशन करती है वहाँ सेवा की गाड़ी आके खड़ी रहती है और वहाँ ही उसे पैसे भी दिए जाते हैं, वहाँ वजन भी किया जाता है और वो पैसे की हमें कोई कबाड़ी वाला चिट्ठी वगैरह नहीं देता, लेकिन सेवा ने जो है वो चिट्ठी वगैरह देता है, उसमें दाम कितना पैसा है भाव कितना है वो सब मालूम होता है। इसलिए वेस्ट रिसाइकल मैंने खुद से कि नहीं अपने जो सेवा में वेस्ट गाड़ी में देते उससे हमें ज्यादा पता चलते और हमें भाव भी मिलता है, तो सब बहनें देने लगी और उससे हमें आरोग्य की जो दिक्कतें हुई वो भी कम हुई। और जो हमारा आगे मोबाइल में कनेक्शन हुआ तो वेस्ट ज्यादा आने लगा, तो हमारी सेवा ने ये भी तय किया कि नहीं वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनें पीछे क्यों रहे, अभी टेक्नोलॉजी का जमाना चल रहा है तो टेक्नोलॉजी में भी अपने वेस्ट रिसाइकल क्यों पीछे रहे, तो सेवा ने ये वीसीसी सेंटर है जो हम कल फील्ड में गए थे, हमने देखा कन्वर्ट बेलिंग मशीन, वैसा हमारा भी अहमदाबाद शहर में वीसीसी सेंटर है पिराना में जो 10,000 स्क्वायर फीट की जगह में लिया गया है। वहाँ आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी मशीन जैसे कि बेलिंग मशीन है, कन्वर्ट बेन है, वहाँ सब वेस्ट आता है मोबाइल वाल कनेक्शन से, जो सारा वेस्ट कलेक्ट होके वहाँ बेलिंग होता है और कन्वर्ट बिल पे हम सभी बहनें वेस्ट रिसाइकलर वहाँ सॉर्टिंग अलग अलग तरीके से करते हैं, जो हम झुक के पहले सॉर्टिंग करते तो हमें कमर में दुखावा होता था और आरोग्य की दिक्कत है। लेकिन हम जो ये वीसीसी में काम करते हैं तो हमें वो आरोग्य की दिक्कतें भी कम हुई और हम वेस्ट रिसाइकल आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी से जुड़ गए। इसलिए हम मालिक और मैनेजर तो बने लेकिन हमारी आवक में भी बढ़ोतरी हुई कि जो दूसरे कबाड़ी वाले के पास हम देते लेकिन हमारा जो वैल्यू क्रिएशन में हम गए इसलिए हमारा दाम भी बढ़ा तो हमारी आवक में भी सुधारा हुआ और हम हमारे बच्चों को भी शिक्षा में भी आगे ले जाने लगे। इसलिए वीसीसी सेंटर में आने के बाद हमारी वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों को भाव में વધારા हुआ और आवक में बढ़ोतरी हुई और हम दाम भी कितना बाजार में होता है वो सब भी हमें मालूम होने लगा। हम वेस्ट रिसाइकलर की बात करूँ तो हम जो कबाड़ी वाले के पास दे आते तो वो सारा पैसा लेके तो हमारा घर में खर्च हो जाता था। लेकिन जब सेवा ने ऐसा किया कि हमारी सेवा की बैंक ही है उसमें हम सब वेस्ट रिसाइकलर जो वेस्ट देते उनका बचत खाता खुलाया और वो हम जो वेस्ट देते उनका खाते में पैसा गिरता तो हम जो थोड़ी सी बचत भी करते और थोड़ा सा घर में भी खर्च कर इसलिए हम बचत भी करने लगे। हमारे खूब ऐसे प्रसंग होते हैं इसमें बचत भी काम आती है। इसलिए लेकिन हम वहाँ वीसीसी में हमारा काम तो जरूर लेकिन हम अभी वैल्यू चेन में नहीं पहुँच सके हैं उसमें हमें बहुत दिक्कत है। ये हम जो क्रैप शॉप खोला इतने सारे जे वीसीसी तक पहुंचे लेकिन संघर्ष तो हमें बहुत ही हुआ क्योंकि हमें पहले पिठे वाले के पास जाके भाव लेना था, पिठा का जो जगह लेनी थी और सब बहनों को सबमिटिंग करके समझा उसमें सारी बहुत दिक्कतें आई। अभी भी हमें वैल्यू चेन के लिए बहुत दिक्कतें है अभी उस तक हम नहीं पहुंच पाए हैं। मैंने वीसीसी सेंटर की तो बात की और मैं आगे भी हमारी सेवा में बहुत सारे काम होते हैं। तो मैं दूसरी बात करूँ तो हमारा डोर टू डोर का कलेक्शन भी सेवा में होता है। जो गुलबाई टेकरा में हमारे कॉरपोरेशन में से हमें ये काम मिला है जो वहाँ 37 बहनों के घर घर जाकर हम वेस्ट कलेक्शन करते हैं जिसमें 30 बहनें जुड़ी हुई है। हम पहले भी कॉरपोरेशन से वेजलपुर में भी काम करते थे ये डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन का और अभी गुलबा टेकरा में काम कर रहे हैं डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन में। इससे ऐसा है कि हम पर्यावरण में भी मदद रूप होते हैं। दूसरा हमारा ये काम है डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन के बाद एमआरएफ सेंटर जो हमारे अहमदाबाद शहर में कॉरपोरेशन का द्वारा कार्यरत है जो 3 जगह पर कार्यरत थे। वहाँ एमआरएफ सेंटर से जो वेस्ट आता है वहाँ हमारी ही सेवा की सदस्य बहनें हैं वो ही वेस्ट का सॉर्टिंग करती है और वहाँ ही हम वहाँ देते हैं वेस्ट तो उससे भाव भी मिलता है और डंप ये एमआरएफ वजह से हम डंप साइड पर जो कचरा जाता है वो कम जाता है। इसलिए हम इसके भी हम पर्यावरण में बहुत सहभागी है। मैं आगे बात करूं अपनी सेवा की तो हमारे ये 3 तो है लेकिन हमारा ये भी काम है कि जो गीतांजलि कोऑपरेटिव मंडली है वहाँ गीतांजलि मंडली में जो हमारे वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहने हम जो सॉर्टिंग करते हैं वेस्ट वो वेस्ट की जो पेपर वो होता है वो हमारी गीतांजलि में हमारी ही सदस्य वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों की दूसरी पीढ़ी है जो वही बहनें और बेटी है उसको हमने तालीम दिया है सेवा ने और सेवा ने ये तालीमों में फाइल बनाना पेन बनाना ये सब जो ऐसी डायरी है और ये पेन है ये गीतांजलि की मंडली में ऐसे रिसाइकल पेपर करके ये पेन और बुक बनाई जाती है। और कल भी हमारा स्टॉल था गीतांजलि आज भी बाहर स्टॉल लगा है वहाँ जो रिसाइकल पेपर का है जो हमारे वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनें ही खुद रिसाइकल करके उसके पेपर से डायरी और पेने बनाती है। इस मंडली में बहनें हमें वेस्ट रिसाइकल को ऐसा था कि क्यों हम तो इसमें जुड़ गए वेस्ट के काम में लेकिन हमारे बहू बेटी और इस काम में क्यों जुड़े और वो भी आगे बढ़े वो भी आगे बढ़े और इस काम में तो इसे ये तालीम देकर ये अलग सा ये फाइल का एक काम सीखने को मिला और हमारी कोऑपरेटिव मंडली में बहनें जुड़ गई और उसकी आवक में भी बढ़ावा हुआ। जो घूम घूम कर वेस्ट लाते थे लेकिन यहाँ एक जगह पर बैठकर ही ये काम मिला और उसकी रोजी में भी बढ़ोतरी हुई और शिक्षा में भी बच्चे को आगे लेने लगी और पोषक आहार भी लेने लगी। मैं एक बात करूं तो हमारे सेवा में ये सब काम हुआ तो इसमें वीसीसी सेंटर की बात करूं तो उसमें 2 टन कचरा आता है और उसमें 300 से 400 बहनें जुड़ी हुई हो और ये 2 टन कचरे से हम डंप साइट पर भी जो कचरा जाता है वो कम जाता है और 300 से 400 बहनों को रोजगारी भी मिली और वो बहनें वेस्ट के साथ जुड़ी तो लेकिन वहाँ जो धूप में गिरती थी, लेकिन जो यहाँ वीसीसी में एक जगह बैठकर सॉर्टिंग करने लगी। इसलिए वीसीसी में आके डोर टू डोर में काम गीतांजलि में काम करे वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनों की जिंदगी में बदलाव आया और आवक में भी बढ़ोतरी हुई। ये सब काम किया तो हमें ये बदलाव आया कि क्या हम वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहनें खुद ही स्वावलंबन बनी और खुद ही आगे बढ़ी और अपने जो बच्चे होते हैं उसको पूर्ण रोजगार हमें पूर्ण रोजगार मिला और बच्चों को शिक्षा भी दी। मैं खुद की ही बात करूं तो मैं भी वेस्ट रिसाइकल बहन हूं। तो मैं पहले वेस्ट लेने जाती थी तो मैं 10वीं तक ही पढ़ी थी और मेरी माँ भी इस काम में थी तो मैं उसके साथ भी काम, तो मैंने पढ़ाई नहीं की थी, मैं 10वीं तक पढ़ी तो लेकिन मैं सेवा में गई और सेवा में से मुझे आगे प्रेरणा मिली कि नहीं तुम्हें ऐसा 10वीं तक है तो तुम आगे पढ़ो। और सेवा की बहनों के पास प्रेरणा मिलने के बाद मैंने आगे पढ़ाई की तो मैंने ग्रेजुएशन पास किया और यही प्रेरणा से मैं शिक्षा लेने लगी तो मुझे यही प्रेरणा मिली। तो मैंने अपनी बच्ची को भी पढ़ाया जो अभी BHMS डॉक्टरी में अभी में पढ़ रही है और मेरे बच्चे को बार साइंस में पढ़ रहा है। तो मुझे सेवा में से ही प्रेरणा मिली कि हम आगे तो वेस्ट रिसाइकल जाए लेकिन शिक्षा में खुद भी जाए और अपने बच्चों को भी आगे ले जाए, इसलिए हम स्वावलंबन भी बने और आगे बढ़े। हम सब ये हमारा सेवा का स्लोगन है, हम सब एक है।
Thank you, Pinakini. Next, we will pass it to Celeste Infante and Paulina Gonzalez from our hosts, Pasir and our hosts here in Argentina.
Hola, buenos días, compañeros.
Good morning, comrades. My name is Jacqueline Celeste. I'm from Alamo Cooperative Facil Organization. I started as a waste picker in the year 2000 when I was 7. After my father died, we are a brother and a sister, and my mother was alone, so we had to start working to have our food, to bring food to our house. After that, my mother got ill, and we had 2 brothers that died also because of drug problems. So we started to waste, collecting paper, carton. I became a mother at a very early age, and I got a job. I worked some years, and during the pandemic, I lost my job again. So again, I had to start waste picking. I was lucky enough to meet the cooperative that opened the doors to me. So it's been 4 years working with them, helping my friends, my colleagues that work in the streets, working for the protection of the environment. And the fact that the Alliance brings an opportunity to know a lot of realities is amazing, because I feel that it's not one, we experience some things, but others experience worse things. I traveled to Salta 10 years ago, and it was very difficult to see the poor conditions our comrades work in landfills there. And it made me feel very sad seeing kids, adults, elderly people. And I think, why can't we do anything? If we organize ourselves and joint efforts, we can do something. We can do something for them to work under decent conditions. I'm very proud of this alliance that opened the doors to me to share my experience with us. I take a lot of takeaways, laughs, nice moments, happiness of meeting you all. So, and now I will give the floor to my comrade who has a very strong life story. She's a really struggler, a fighter. I met her a short period ago, but she's a genius to me. What we are going to present or explain to you is how the waste speaker's salary is composed of. Then we will invite Vicky to read the PowerPoint. I give the floor to Paulina. Thank you. Hello. Oh, I'm so nervous. I am Paulina, delegate of FACSIR and a referent of a branch in Argentina. I'm very nervous because after living in private of my liberty and not having tools, I couldn't get a job, so I had to take my son, my little son, to see what I could do. We didn't start waste speaking. I started with my son going to the trash bins to see what I could find. I met a lot of comrades in my same conditions, and I said, Pauli, we are fighting the same battles because we have criminal records. We cannot find a job, a formal job, as they said. And I learned about the popular economy. They hugged me without judging me. My comrades helped me without being interested in my past. They were all only interested in my present. I then mentioned FACSIR to me, and they said that they were going to help me, to embrace me, and that they were going to give me better conditions. And it was true. That has changed my life. And I'm not speaking about my own experience, but I'm speaking about a lot of comrades that I think we all have a comrade who has been in prison and probably then doesn't know what to do. We start doing what we know how to do, and from that moment on, meeting these people has been a huge change for me. I don't know how to put it into words. We take our work, our recycling work everywhere. We started teaching our work to people who are in prison, for them to learn if they want to learn something to do, so that when they are in the streets, they have a place to transform their lives. This is by way speaking, we can transform the life of a person. I don't want to repeat everything that has been mentioned before by my comrades, but we are here struggling to be recognized. Some people say that we are poor people, but we are workers. And it has been very difficult for us since 2016 to have these supplementary wages that we are receiving. It's $78. And the struggle that we have is to continue working to conquer more rights. The governments that we have in force now is not helping us. And I know that I will have a lot of things still to say and to explain. But what strikes my attention is that I would like to know who receives help from your own governments. Please raise your hands, those who receive wages or some kind of help from your governments. 1, 2. Well, I think that struggle is a collective struggle, so we have to take this model to the world. I'm happy and proud of being here represented my comrades internationally. And a lot of people told me, you will never change. And now look at me, I'm sitting here representing a lot of workers from the popular economy, from vaccine, from our way speakers, and also from my comrades that are now not in prison anymore. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to know about the popular economy. So a huge thank to them. I know I will have a lot of things to do, but thank you, Fazir. Thank you to my comrades here. You know that a lot of people keep the money that we have to receive. We are the ones who are in the streets, under the sun, under the rain, but we still have to go to look for, to waste pig. So we have the privilege that Faxir helps us to sell our products to the industry. So no one keeps our effort. I know we have a lot to do. There are a lot of people who are still not organized, and these people feed those people that want to take our job. But I hope we join our efforts for them not to exist anymore, because we are the ones who suffer, who have pains in our bodies, who have a history of suffering, and we are the ones who are in the street, because I know it firsthand. It's the need of having something to eat that takes us to the street. I'm not speaking about being a millionaire. It's a question of eating every day, of having something to bring to our kids. And our struggle is for our kids to have a better future. That is what we are doing. We want to be removed of our public university. It's a lot of things that we are undergoing, but I'm proud of my comrade that says that her daughter is going to university. I hope we can also do it. I hope no one has to experience the needs that we have lived. I'm proud of being a waste speaker and to bring this pride to my other friends who are still in prison, and we take that tool, the recycling tool, to prisons for them to learn to do something and to become workers. As I said before, I have a lot of things to do, but I don't have much time. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you to my comrades who supported me to be here. You are an example to me. You are an example of fight. Thank you. And as I always say, without waste pickers, there is no recycling, and I won't go to prison anymore. Can you hear me? Our comrades asked me to read the PowerPoint because it's in Spanish. So I think many of you who are here won't be able to read it. So I will help with this and we'll read it. The salary, it's an achievement by organized way speakers. It's part of our history, the history of workers in our country who consider that the job has to be organized with rights. A right to a decent income that would allow us to live, a right to health, a right to be protected against injuries, the right to be protected with a uniform, with elements, protection elements, a right for us of a right of retirement for us when we are elderly and we won't be able to work. Our struggle is first one in the streets. That's how we receive these supplementary social wages. It's it's given by the state of Argentina and equivalent by a minimum salary in Argentina. This is what I mentioned before. This supplementary salary supplements our wages because sometimes, for example, it rains and we cannot be in the streets looking for our materials. And sometimes our products have less and less value. So we need to be in the streets struggling because our government in force is trying to still deprive of that minimum wages that we have. What we were saying here is that right now we are in a critical economic situation. That salary is now frozen. And since we have assumed a new government in December last year, our salary should have increased, but it has not increased. This is our next battle. We don't have much time. So the average waste picker salary is the sale of our goods plus the state subsidy with the objective of improving working and living conditions of our colleagues. We should have public policy where this government provides a direct contribution to the pockets of waste pickers as a complement to the income for waste picking, and it should include social security, such as contributions to health insurance and pension. The sale of goods. The goods collected by our comrades then transferred to a recycling plant where it is sold to the recycling industry. These plants are simpler or have more technology depending on the cities and local governments and the possibility of access adequate machinery. There is a cooperative in charge of collective trading so that all small and medium collectives can have a fair price for their products. So that we can close the panel, this is data from Argentina Recycles, a program that fosters recycling. This was under the management of a waste picker that represents over 150 waste pickers of the country. We have 385 productive units, 234 dump sites, 41 landfills. As I said, 234 landfills, 41 sanitary landfills, and 27 RAEs, which is what has to do with technological machinery. We're just going to briefly run through this. Our 4 pillars of work was to foster waste pickers, foster local recycling systems, and recycling collection. Does the government always have to economically aid waste pickers? This is my colleague's response. In reality, we should not be depending on the subsidies of a government. We know that the government does not provide any subsidies, and all that money comes from our people, our contributors. It's not fair. It shouldn't be like that. Our fight is for the government. It's not for government to pay our salary, for the corporations, for the companies to pay our salaries, the companies that rely on our waste picking. And this has been a lifelong struggle for us. We have never received a response for this. We should not be depending on government subsidies. We need to be acknowledged as professional workers, and the companies that are polluting the world should pay for that. Why should our people pay for that? Why should workers pay for that? That is not fair. And I wish to conclude, because I'm running out of time, by saying that this bill that we have sent to Congress, that companies pay for our work, we hope that it's passed very soon because it's very necessary.
And I'm going to give the floor to my colleague, but we are very proud that you are our colleagues and our allies. And I want to ask for an applause for Sergio Sanchez, who yesterday organized all of the food, all of our meals from yesterday, and then he was also in charge of cleaning up. Sergio, thank you so much for your effort, and we hope that you felt comfortable in our house, Argentina. Thank you. I just wanted to round up by saying that our salary is not a subsidy, it's a right. So I hope that that is clear for everyone all over the world. It's our labor right for us that are cast out of the system. It's not fair. We should have a salary. I hope that in the next World Congress, we all have this in common, that we need decent salaries for decent work. Thank you.
Thank you, comrades. Before we go to our next speaker, I will just remind the panel the 3 questions we have asked, and we've had them nicely responded, are: what is the justice you seek? What are the biggest challenges you face in seeking this justice? And what are the strategies that you are taking to overcome these challenges? And with that, I will pass it over to our comrade, Johnson Doe, with the Green Cooperative Society from Ghana.
Thank you very much. My name is Johnson Doe from Ghana. It's my pleasure to be here and also to tell you a story. As you can see, our panel is full of heart-touching stories from where we came from and the work that we do. In the screen behind, you see where I work for over 20 years, working as a waste picker at the landfill. And this picture is taken at the engineered landfill site in Pong, where we have been working as waste pickers, but something terrible happened in 2019 when this landfill is being closed. And it's because it was in flames unexpectedly, and the waste pickers were accused of setting the fire. Those people who set the fire, so that was the accusation given. Due to that, we were not consulted, no alternative livelihood plan. So we realized that this is a threat to our livelihood. So we need to think outside the landfill. What do we do to still be in business, to still not to lose our job? So 3 things that really happen as something very important in our life. 1, the fire outbreak. 2, the decommissioning of the landfill sites. 3, the pandemic. These 3 things hit us so strongly to the extent that we don't know where we are heading to. So we have to start thinking outside the landfill to create a job for ourselves. What we do is to start scoping. So we do a scoping in the Pong coastal community to identify the waste management challenge, where we can fill gaps, and what can we do to help prevent some of these challenges that we are facing. So as you can see, these are pictures of the Gulf of Guinea at the coast in Pong. And all these wastes have been dumped illegally at the seashore, and some are being burnt, which is totally not good for the environment. So we step in First, we have to conduct a pilot collection after the mapping or after the scoping to see what are the opportunities for us if we are able to conduct a doorstep collection. So we do two different pilot collections. One the first one before the pandemic, and the second one was terrible.
Foi antes da pandemia e no segundo.
Between the pandemic. So it's at the midst of the pandemic, we have to conduct a pilot collection, which is very, very terrible. And with the support of some residents, they were able to offer us a space to collect, sort, and come up with the data and the results that we see. And after the results, we realized that the results are not that encouraging, but we still have to work. So we propose, we put these reports or the data before the municipality, and they advise us that they cannot help us if we are not into cooperatives. So one of the key points, they don't help associations, they help cooperatives. So if we are into cooperatives, they will help us. So quickly, we have to go back and put ourselves into cooperatives. And one of the things that WeGo does for us is to support us, facilitate the session, and to help us develop our own bylaws, the rules, and what we need to do to run the cooperative. So in the picture behind is a queue you are seeing of electing the leaders of the cooperative. And this cooperative was registered 15th August 2022, and it was officially launched on 2nd September 2022. And it was that year, then we have to keep moving. And we are lack of many, many things. And this is what we did. We also did an open research supported by Katie. She's here. And this research really helped us to identify the waste generated per capita per household a day. And if we step in to solve or to conduct a doorstep collection, how much waste are we will be collecting a day, and what will be the opportunities, and how many jobs will be created for waste pickers. And we realize the carbon emissions that we are saving, the greenhouse gas emissions, and how we are saving the environment will be amazing. So what we did was to use this data to lobby for support. But what happened was we written to so many companies, the municipality, the central government, but they are so silent on all the reports. As waste speakers, we know what we are doing. It's an industry for ourselves already. We have worked for decades. So we develop an idea to keep moving, even though without them who don't want to support us. With all the proposals that we sent out, we are lucky to receive a grant from OR Foundation. And with these grants, we are able to kickstart our operations. So as you can see, the pictures behind, we started with motorcycles, collecting door to door. But what was amazing in the process was this cooperative is made up of 30 members. And the 30 members was divided into 3. One group is in charge of community education. It goes to the households. So we print out flyers, stickers, and other communication tools. They educate the community to separate their waste from source, and also our vision for promoting the environment. And another group is in charge of collection. So we map the coastal city into 3 zones based on the electoral areas, and we work from Monday to Saturday. And the riders go for collection. And we also have another group that is at the sorting center where we sort our materials. So every day you see different groups working on different days at different areas. And we also design stickers to track the households that we are working with. So currently we are working close to 200 households, 15 schools, churches, and business centers, which we think that we ourselves have already created a just transition for ourselves. With the threats we've seen by closing the landfill without consulting the waste pickers, without talking to anybody, no livelihood restoration plan, no alternative, nothing to talk to waste pickers. So we see that for us to be waiting at the landfill for the trucks to bring the waste, a day like that will come again. So it's better we think outside the landfill. We'll no more waste at the landfill to receive the waste. We'll rather chase the waste at the source. That is how come we back into the community and we begin to do a doorstep collection. And now what we realize is that with the number of tonnages of waste that we are collecting from the environment is huge. And we still need the municipality's intervention. We have outlined some few demands from the results that we get from the greenhouse calculator. And these demands are waste collection contracts, sorry. Yeah, so we demand waste collection contract for waste pickers to conduct a door-to-door waste collection. And we also demand social economic opportunities for waste pickers. And I think this is answering my co-facilitator's question. When we seek for just transition, we seek for transformational system change, social economic opportunities, agency and accountability. And also, of course, we cannot forget about inclusion wherever we are, and also workforce developments and programs. And the last is green decent jobs, speakers worldwide. And before I end my presentation, I was telling my colleagues last a story. When we are coming to this Congress, we have been stopped by immigration at our airports. And they asked us, where are we going? They took our passports. And we said, we are going to Argentina for a Congress. They asked us, what work are you doing? We said, we are waste pickers. And the question was, you a waste picker traveling to Argentina? And we said, yes. Where do we work? We work at the dump site. Do you believe you are telling me the truth? I say, yes, I'm telling you the truth. I'm a waste picker, and the waste work is what is taking me to Argentina. And the immigration officer changed the language to the local dialect, telling the colleagues that, see, we are here only stamping passports. But see, these Bola people are going to Argentina. And it's very amazing. So I would say we are proud of the work that we are doing, and we have gone more beyond that. And I would say recycling without waste pickers is garbage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johnson. Before we go to our next speaker, I would remind people.
Antes de pasar a nuestro próximo orador, les queremos decir que acá cambiamos a los de francés que cambian el canal 3. ¿Está bien?
Next, I would welcome our sister and comrade,
Le voy a dar la palabra a Jean Diok de Senegal.
salaamaaleykum maa ngi nuyu kenn ku ci nekk sa tur ak sa sant maa ngi tudd Adja Maam Seyni Pay Diop.
My name is Ajamam Sinifipayup. I'm the Vice President of the Bagyom Association and the President of the Farm Committee. President of the Women Committee.
waaw man maa ngi liggéey ci décharge bi depuis 1996 bi may ñëw ci décharge bi métti woon na trop nag.
I've been working at the landfill in 1998. When I first got there, it was extremely difficult because in 1991, my dad had an accident. His ship was out on the sea and he was injured. He had a leg injury and needed to have 2 surgeries. Back then, I was just starting school and I wasn't able to start. In 1994, my mom was pregnant with twins. When she gave birth, one of the twin girls was alive and the other one wasn't. It was therefore very hard to be able to pay, and in the end we were evicted and it was impossible to get gas, so she had to gather wood for the stove, and we were not able to get medication, which is why I started waste picking. I started waste picking at the landfill, and when I started there, I started helping my family. It was a place where I didn't get any recognition, and now we are acknowledging that it is us waste pickers who have added value to the landfills. And we are starting to move ahead. We are picking up cardboard, paper, and we sell them to wholesale companies who are then reselling them. And there are now more than 2,000 waste pickers. And I have continued working in this association. Now there is Mercura, who is currently replacing, or who I have replaced in her capacity as president. Back then, Arunius was vice president. However, when the president passed away, Arunius became president and has carried out very important work as a treasurer. And we are now collaborating with a cooperative helping the waste pickers. Yeah, back in the old times, after you gathered material, it was very hard to sell it because you wouldn't get a good price for it. For instance, 50 francs, 75 francs worth of material would be sold for 50. And it was very hard. So in the end, we ended up forming a trade union. And this trade union made it possible for us to defend our rights, our interests, to help the workers at the landfill, because we realized that today there are states that are willing to employ some people, but we would not accept that because it was us working at those landfills. So today we have been able to add value to the landfills, and we all know that it isn't just garbage that is there. As waste pickers, we are proud of the garbage that can be found at the landfills, because that is our work, which is why all states should consider us as great workers, which is why we are entitled to have our rights, which is why we are entitled to social protection coming from the state. Mothers, for instance, should get support because it is us who protect the environment through our work. And we protect the sea, we protect the subsoil. If we did not pick up all the plastics that end up in the sea, the fish would no longer be able to be survive with all the plastic in there, with all the paper in there. So our work is important because we allow for all this plastic to be fished out of the sea, and we need to create awareness. And we organize forums in order to create more awareness, in order to gather the waste that ends up on the beach for the other waste not to end up in the sea. It is important to then take it and bring it to another place. And it is also important to know that all the waste that ends up in the sea will be fished out. It cannot be left there. And it is very important that we receive assistance. And if that can be made possible, that is going to help us. And it is also important that we have chosen to work at the landfills. And all those that work with different materials such as scrap and so on, if we want to buy something and there's a price that is too high, if it's a 100% price, then, and it is brought to 80%, then we need a government subvention.
For example, the councils need to assist us with social services, because even at the personal level, we try to help each other in order to have health care and social services. This is the reason why we request the councils to assist us to consider waste pickers, because it is us who work on the landfills. But we are not waste, we are workers, and we deserve dignity. And we want us to be united, to work together so that we can have power, so that the state assists us. Thank you all. And thank you all, WeGo, because WeGo has assisted us, has given us power, has enabled us to learn what we can do in our work as waste pickers. WeGo has showed us the way, If we are here, it's because we go, because of we go. I would like to thank Margaret and all the team of West speakers who are here. And I praise to God so that we can continue to work, and long live Africa. Long live Africa. Long live Africa. I request that we have the assistance for everybody.
So finally, last but not least, we have an honored guest
Finalement,
from our International Labour Organization. So I will pass over for the last speaker for this panel to our comrade Joaquin Etoren. Can you? Right.
This one.
No? Este quiero. Try this one now? Yes. Okay, thank you. It isn't.
Bueno, ¿cómo empezar después de las presentaciones anteriores, no? ¿No es cierto?
Presentations.
Porque bueno, es mucho lo que ya se ha dicho.
It has been a lot what our comrades mentioned, and it's told from their experience, which is richer than to speak about this from the concept, from the theory. That is what I will do. So first, I would like to thank the organization. This one is better. Thank you to our comrades who spoke yesterday. Thank you to you for being part of this historical moment. The first day, we visited the CGT and we commented there everything that we have done. We introduced your authorities, and I consider that as a historical moment. And I think because different worlds have been reunited, which were difficult to join before. So I think it has been a very important moment. So being part of ILO I feel proud about that. And on the other hand, this is like an introduction to the presentation that I will give and some answers to what you have asked. So I want to highlight that apart from the organization that you have for this event, for me it was very special because I could speak firsthand with those who do this work every day. So I learned a lot. I learned more than from seeing it from the books or from other congresses or conferences where you join other people. So it is very different from being here firsthand with the people who do that job every day. And I pass on to the presentation because the big challenges, and one of the questions that you asked is that how can we connect the different languages that we speak, the different languages that we speak, or how we think, we mention things differently when we want to refer to the same thing. So to give you food for thought, as we say in Argentina, when we speak about ILO recommendations, for example, recommendation 204 for transition to formality, what do we mean by that in this matter? There are studies conducted by WIGO that were mentioned today and have been very important regarding the implementation of these conventions and practices. But what does it mean to speak about formalizing your works in this environment? Also, you spoke about the taking of decisions. What does that mean in this context? What does collective bargaining, social dialogue, three-part social dialogue mean here? So that's what I want to point out when we try the different languages to be joined. And the other thing that we will mention is that we speak a lot about the promotion of companies. What does that mean in this context when we also listen that the value of the experiences in the cooperatives goes beyond the question of promoting or formalizing a company. So that has different aspects. Each of you has mentioned things related to your background, how you organize your work, what you did, that is to work with people who are in prison, study. You commented about environmental education. So there are a lot of things that go beyond the different languages that we use. My presentation is very theoretical, let's say, in comparison with the others, but I do it in purpose because my objective is for you to get bored so that we don't pass on to a debate. So I will stand up and then I will answer your questions when I have a minute.
Basically, today's presentation will be about green employment, circular economy, and just transition. These are some notes from the ILO. And then if it says page Argentina, it's because I am the Argentine coordinator of page with a focus on just transition and green employment. Next slide, please. It's not working. Why is it not working? So, as I was saying, the definitions as such, these are the ILO definitions on just transition and green employment. I have the pointer here. So just transition has basically 4 ILO principles. The first principle is to maximize the creation of decent employment and sustainable companies. On the other hand, minimizing negative impact of transformation towards sustainability from some sectors towards employment. We heard a lot of this. We're going to talk later on about recycling systems and such. But this is perceived as a threat to people who work in certain sectors. On the other hand, to support that change in those sectors, what does that mean? We talk basically today of strengthening organizations, strengthening infrastructure, strengthening bargaining power in the markets, etc. And finally, and the most important, at least to me, is to have inclusive social dialogue. We have several definitions here on social dialogue that started changing throughout time. It's a tripartite between government, private parties, and recyclers. And today we're heading towards more definitions. Let's go to the next slide. So maybe what you can see here, what generates more discussions, very enriching discussions as to what green employment is, work in the environmental sector, which also answers to decent working conditions, which is a fair salary, good working conditions, social protection, labor rights, equality in opportunities, and access and participation. The ILO defines two lines: the creation of green employment, think of the new technology, and through programs of public policies, yes, infrastructure restoration, and everything that has to do with formalization of green work. I think that we are going to rely specifically on the red line that I'm speaking to of this PowerPoint. So basically, we can see here recommendation 204 of the transition to a formal economy. The recommendation basically says that there is not one measure, one specific measure, but we need to take into account cultural levels, national levels. So the four pillars are graduality, rights, adaptation to context, and monitoring of impacts. The dialogue inside is social dialogue, consulting, employment policies, administrative simplification, social protection. As regards climate change and the impact on workers, we haven't spoken so much about this yet, but we've spoken about floods, COVID, all of those threats, environmental threats. I'm going to run by this very quickly because I don't have so much time. I'd like to get to the point, but this basically implies macro incentives, sectorial policies, labor policies, trainings. I'm going to speak here very specifically about positive global trends. One of the most positive global trends that I see is everything that has to do with social economy, especially for recyclers, is that there are more and more organizations and more collective organization. If we don't have organization, everything that I've just mentioned is practically impossible. And you know that this has not always been the case. That this has been a struggle of the most recent 20 years. Here we have some Argentine examples as regards how many green employments are recorded, which means formal employment. But on a second note, more than 300,000 employees, more than 1/3, work in these areas, which are management of recycling, reparation services, and recovering of materials and recycling. So just imagine what we could do if all of these employments were formal green employments. The major challenges here in Argentina, we've been discussing it for years, is the issue of power and asymmetries of power in the market, which request legislation and ERP, a fair ERP, including these works inside the formal scheme. I like one of the bills that was passed last year of Congress speaking to the waste picking sector. But I would say that our work always runs into the same barriers. Into practice, registration and participation of cooperatives in formal industrial relationships and processes, for example, in public bidding, the incorporation of mechanisms in the power of making decisions, which is collective bargaining, mechanisms to guarantee social protection. It's very important to participate in collective negotiation. normal working standards with hygiene and security and safety. Basically, this is what I wanted to say. This has to do with plastics treatment, but basically we cannot cast out the treatment in plastic. Cooperativism is essential in treating plastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrade. So to close us out, because I know we're going into lunch, we'll have PNPN close the session with some last reflections.
नमस्ते। आज जो जस्ट ट्रांजैक्शन में जो संगठन में हमें जो दिक्कतें आती है उसके बारे में सभी पैनलों ने बात की। तो हम वेस्ट रिसाइकल तो बहुत ही दिक्कतें आती है क्लाइमेट चेंज में। आप सबने ये सब बातें ध्यान से सुनी और हम रिसाइकलरों की सभी की जो जो रजूआतें थी अलग अलग देश की वो सबने रजूआत की, वो सब दिक्कतों को आप सबने सुनी। आप सबका मैं तहे दिल से शुक्रिया अदा कर रही हूँ। और जस्ट ट्रांजेक्शन में मैं कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो क्लाइमेट चेंज होता है उसमें हम वेस्ट रिसाइकल को बहुत दिक्कत होती। तो बोले तो जो रेन का सीजन होता है हम वेस्ट लेकर आते हैं वो गीला हो जाता है तो आगे दाम भी नहीं मिलता है। अचानक से जो वर्षा आता है तो हमारे घर तो छोटे छोटे होते हैं वेस्ट रिसाइकलर के, तो हम सेग्रीगेशन का काम कैसे करें आगे और जो वेस्ट होता है वो कहाँ रखे। इसलिए हमें ये क्लाइमेट चेंज में बहुत ही दिक्कतें आ रही है। और मैं जस्ट ट्रांजेक्शन में कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो वेस्ट रिसाइकलर है वो दृश्यमान नहीं है, उनको दृश्यमान करना चाहिए इसमें।
Well, let's give our amazing panel of leaders a big applause, and this is the future we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. So now we're break for lunch. If you want to take some souvenirs home, please remember that there's the marketplace outside. So maybe during lunch, if you want to go out and buy something, don't forget that it's out there. We're going to be back here by 2:30. So I know it's a little bit of a short lunch, but it's more than an hour. And please, if you can come back on time, just so we can wrap up on time today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Lorsqu'on est un travailleur autonome qui butine dans les poubelles avec un baluchon d'aluminium, quoi de mieux que de travailler au soleil sans se faire chier avec un patron d'imbotine. Et de recevoir son chèque de paye en temps réel, pas imposable, flashé par une machine. J'amorce la cueillette en suivant mon feeling. Quand je tombe sur une canette, ça fait ching ching. Je suis peut-être pas de fond de retraite, mais je me sens comme les kings, fait que je me bats avec la consigne. Es-tu plus heureux millionnaire? Comme tous ces bourgeois qui me regardent croche. Quatrième est dur en plein hiver. Avec les doigts, je l'épile les pieds dans le sludge. Je m'apitoie pas sur mon propre sort. Au fond, je sais bien que je vais retrouver cet été La magie des chasses au trésor et la saveur originale de ma liberté. Je poursuis ma cueillette, même si j'ai sans le swing. Quand je tombe sur une canette, ça fait ching ching. Y'en a qui nagent d'indette au sommet d'un building, fait que j'ai pas plein de palette avec la consigne.
Recording stopped.
Je finis ma cueillette en checkant les darlings. Je vais porter mes canettes, ça fait ching ching. Puis là, je sors du dep avec une dose de garlic. Fait que check moi bien. Un peu là.